Good morning. Here we are back at Monday. It's like this non-stop loop, right? We have a work week. So, anyways, my daughter came to me the other night and was asking, Mama, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. And she said, well, sometimes when I ask you like yes or no questions, you don't give me a yes or no answer, and it leaves me confused in my head. So that reminded me of be careful with how we answer people, because some people need direct answers, and being who I am, I give like roundabout answers because I'm not trying to send bad vibes or bad juju to people. Like her example of me not answering her for her to have clarity was, say her uncle's in the hospital and she asked how he's doing, and I say he's in the hospital, and I don't tell her good or bad. So like I told her, I don't say good or bad in the sense that I don't want to put bad juju out there. If he's doing better and I say he's doing bad, then I feel like I could affect that. So I've always just not answered directly. And I told her I would work on the way that I communicate with her for her to have clarity. Because at 13 years old, for her to even come to me with this and to kind of point out, you confuse me sometimes, that took a lot of courage on her side. But then also, it helped me to understand that sometimes people need that direct answer. And I've always been that, like I said, roundabout answer, and I didn't realize it until she came to me confused. So just try to be more open and honest with the people you're around. Like if they ask you to do something and you don't want to, say no. You don't have to give an explanation. You don't have to excuse yourself. You don't owe anybody anything, and you have the right to say no or yes, whatever it is you choose. But a lot of us don't communicate effectively because we don't want to hurt other people's feelings, or we don't want to be responsible, or like I said, put bad juju out there, feeling like we're saying and doing things that will affect other people in a negative light. So it's just a friendly reminder, because it was being reminded to me that the way we communicate affects our relationships in a way. You know, it's if you have closed off communication, then you're leaving room to leave more questions in the air, or confusing others. So even when she came to me and asked this question, she kept going, I'm sorry, was I rude about that? And really stuck in the way that she's trying to communicate, but then feeling nervous about communicating. And that's another thing. None of us should feel nervous about communicating. And like I told her, no, you're perfectly fine. I'm glad that you came to me. That took a lot of courage. And you actually are turning into a very well-rounded young lady, because you communicate better than most adults that I know. And that's awesome. And we need to all learn to be more open in the way that we communicate. You know, just don't try to protect yourself so much in the sense that you're leaving open-ended answers and leaving someone else trapped in their head. And that's any job interview I've ever gone to. They ask me, what's the number one thing that you feel creates a successful team? And like I told them, communication is key. That's like the number one thing, because if I tell you something and then that's not passed along to, say, the next shift or the next day, I come in and it was never passed along, then I still have to deal with the same situation over and over. So instead, we need to go back to an open line of clear communication. Not the game telephone like we used to play. Not at all. Because when you start saying something and it can be misconstrued, then it gets back to you and you're like, that's not what I said. And then it didn't even get taken care of. So the number one thing I've started at my job is, this is how we communicate. Just little notes everywhere for the next person, right? So the other place behind me wasn't effectively communicating, and he kept going, I don't know how they can't get it together. And I said, it's really simple. They need to leave notes for each other, because there's a lot of drama back there on a regular basis, which people with their personal lives, people with their vendettas, people with we're friends, we ain't friends, this back and forth, back and forth. You can't have a clear line of communication like that. But the thing is, especially when it comes to work, you're not here to be friends. You're here to do your job. Make sure you do it effectively, correctly, so the next person can step in and do their job. And so when it comes down to it, if you don't want to look at that person, you don't want to talk to that person, at least leave a note so somebody will see it. And then that also covers your butt in the sense that, okay, well, I did write it down. You can see right here, that's my handwriting. I passed it along. So then that also covers your butt in the sense that you're not the weak link in the chain, you know. And communication doesn't only apply to jobs. Of course, we all know this. Communication is key in life. So even when it comes down to your kids' school teachers, your family members, your spouse, your kids, everyone around you deserves to be clearly communicated with. Because if we can start being more open and honest with one another, I'm pretty sure that used to be a thing. It's almost going extinct at this point, to be open and honest. And a lot of it boils down to you don't want to be judged. You don't want to piss somebody off. You don't want to be held responsible. But at this point, we've relinquished so much responsibility in the world around us that the only thing we know how to do these days is to work and party. That's not the best setup for success. Because especially if you're working solely to party, like, oh, I had a long week, now I'm going to relax. Where's the dreams at? Where's the foundation? Where's the moving forward? You don't want to stay stuck in this mindset that I'm here to have a good time. Have a good time, but don't be stuck in such a good time that you don't even teach your children how to build a foundation and a future for themselves, because they're relying on us to guide them. They're relying on us for a good construct that will lead to a healthy and abundant life. And that's like when COVID hit, right? Everybody went to barbecuing. Everybody went to drinking when we had shut down and we were quarantined. I don't remember what it was called, but where we were basically locked in our houses, and they were delivering alcohol and things like this. So I was watching everyone I knew party. And at that time, I was riding bikes with my kids. I was doing cartwheels outside. I was taking them swimming to the pool because we lived in a community to where we could get out enough. I was taking them for walks every day, trying to help them be active rather than sedating myself and going, oh God, we're going to be here forever. So I had to remind everybody I knew, you're teaching your children how they're going to deal with future pandemics, how they're going to deal with shutdowns. And the way to handle it is not to stay wasted, not to avoid the moment. There's things to be learned when you're in that moment of being forced to being together. We were actually being forced to sit at the table again. We were being forced to have communication again. We were being forced to try to come back to a way of life that was more doable, you know? And most people have gotten so used to this being separated. I'm busy. You're not busy. You're not making quality time for the right things. And that's where you have to reprioritize your life. You have to start putting in the work of what is more beneficial here. And my boyfriend reminded me last night, we don't ever have time to sit down and do the things like go to a movie, but we have to make that time. The time will not make itself. And that's mainly because my daughter brought up the new movie Avatar was coming out. I was like, oh my God, it's 3 hours. It's a little over 3 hours long. That's like torture for me. And he even said, you can't sit still for 30 minutes, much less 3 hours. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to make it, but it's something that my kids want to do. And he's encouraging me to do. So, of course, we're all going to go to this movie. And I'm going to sit there for 3 hours and really hope that I enjoy it. Because there's so much more I could do with 3 hours of my time. But I'm being reminded that time together as a family. And I know this but it's making me have to go outside of a comfort zone to where, like I said, sitting 3 hours, he said, is like having your teeth pulled. It really is, because I'm so hands-on and fidgety and moving and constantly doing things. So I will do it for the ones that I love, but just for the sake of going and sitting in a 3-hour movie, that is not something I would spend my time doing. But that's beside the point. So effectively, that communication on both sides, I want to do this from my kids and him encouraging me that we need to do this so that they can have that quality time and that they can feel more seen and heard and appreciated and a part of our lives. And this is with all children. They want to be a part of our lives. They just don't know how, because as adults, most of us are focused on, this is what I have to do for the week. This is the money I need to make. These bills have to be paid. I got to save for this. I want to buy that. You know, we have all these things that just keep cycling in our heads. And a lot of times communication is not what's on our mind, because you might want to talk to me, but I have other things I need to take care of. But understand that your children are always more important than your wants, than your desires. And I'm not saying cast your dreams aside, because it's important to dream and it's important to work on those dreams. It's important to build that strong foundation. And just because you've already started something doesn't mean that the foundation is shot. You know, it doesn't mean that just because you like half-ass built it, that it's no longer valid, because you can build on a foundation that you weren't necessarily in the best state of mind, but you can build to make it a better state of mind. And this is coming from personal experience, that I've been through so many tumultuous moments, you know, bad relationships, falling out with family members, feeling like I'm in dead-end jobs, the pay's not adding up, just countless things, overwhelmed by responsibilities and children, and having to always do more than I feel like I'm capable, but being pushed to do it to remind me how strong I am, for one, but to make sure that my kids have exactly what they need. And one thing I've taught them is I will always give you what you need. I will not always give you what you want, because that makes for an entitled, spoiled child. We don't need entitled people. We all experience them out in public. That person that will cut you, that person that will cuss you out, that person that will just kind of poke at your day and say, hey, have a bad day just like me. Which I heard a lady one day, this lady told her to have a good day, and she said, how dare you? Don't force that upon me. And I'm sitting there like, what? And the girl said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. And she said, you can't tell me to have a good day. You're telling me what to do. And I'm sitting there watching crazy. And all I could say was, okay, just have a day. Like, take it how you will. Have it how you want it. Be miserable, but don't go around and spread that with everybody, because we all are already struggling on our own level. No matter what it is, we're struggling. If we could get back to being compassionate and that open line of communication, like I was talking about in the very beginning, if we could learn to get back without fear to speaking, verbalize what it is that's on your mind. You have the right to be heard. You're here to make a difference in your life, somebody's life, your children's life. It doesn't matter. You're here to change the construct of the world that you live in. Just because it's toxic and miserable around you doesn't mean join in. By all means, don't. Please stand up and start pushing back and say, you know what? I'm going to be a light bulb. I don't care if I'm a dim light bulb. I'm going to be a light bulb. I'm going to shine for the rest of the people around me, to start nudging them and say, hey, I got the power over here. If you want to turn your light on, just kind of remember to smile. Remember to open a door. Remember to put yourself after somebody else. You don't always have to come first. This is not a race. This is not a game. This is life. You are here to comprehend the world around you. Make it better. Do something that makes a difference, and not just in your life, because we all need each other, regardless of how independent you think you are. Because 3 years ago, I was defined as strong, independent woman, don't need no help. And you are definitely right. And now I see that I might not need the help, but to have the help is okay. It's okay to say, hey, can you help me reach that top shelf? Because you'd be surprised at the grocery store, my kids are the ones having to get stuff off the shelf for me, which is funny, haha. But I've learned to accept the fact that it doesn't make me weak. It actually makes me stronger to be able to say, hey, can you get that for me? Or, hey, I need help with this, rather than burdening myself with the concept that I can do it all on my own. So just remember, it's okay to be open to allow others to step in, because one thing I used to remind my ex was, you have to learn to take from others when they're offering, so others can be givers too. And I think that was a reminder for me, that I was a constant giver. I was an over giver. I was a people pleaser. And if it came back to me, no, I'm good. No, you keep that for yourself. I'll go without, even if I needed it, because I didn't want to owe anybody anything. I didn't want anybody to judge me. I didn't want to be vulnerable. And now at the mindset I'm in, I'm like, come on, bring it. Let's just do that. Let's build healthy relationships. I trust you, you trust me. I open up to you, you open up to me. I communicate with you, you communicate with me. Hey, we're flowing now. It is a positive mindset. Then you get to start dancing, right? Because once you can open and flow, now you can learn to do the two-step or the cha-cha or the tango, whatever, because it takes two to dance. I mean, we can dance alone, sure, but then you miss the thrill of being spun and having a good time, enjoying life. Hold on one second. Good morning. So if you don't want to miss out on the dance of life, start learning to bring people into your world and trusting them, okay? And I know it's hard. Believe me, I have had the shield of, no, can you see me? I can see, I don't want to do this. But instead of living in fear and kind of being stuck, take a breath, do that thing we talk about, breathe, and just take a step. And it's as simple as opening up your heart and learning to trust again. So that was a simple little message. And I know, like always, dancing around. But everyone have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.